Direct from the Six, world-renowned, Canada's largest city, with Canada's biggest thinkers, visionaries, and hustlers. This is Startup Talk, featuring the founders, funders, innovators, and community leaders who've led Canada's startup ecosystem right here in Toronto. You'll hear the challenges, the failures, the successes. Toronto's Startup Podcast gives you the full story direct from the entrepreneurs and influencers who've made a difference. Now, the host of Startup Talk, the founder of TorontoStarts, the Startup Coach.
Speaking of improving, you mentioned boosting close rates and improving product market fit using your framework. What are some signs that a startup's product market fit is off, and how do they realign?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a couple of them. I mean, the biggest one, I think, just going back to the previous point, is where the prospect is just not closing and they're giving you positive feedback. I think that's always a big challenge. There's just so much that people do, especially where, for example, your retention rate is low compared to your industry. That's another common sign that your product market fit is off. Another simple one, honestly, is just look at what everybody else in the industry is doing. If you're doing something really different, your product market fit by nature will be off. But the big thing that I want to highlight is we have this idea that product market fit is this static thing, but it's not. And I actually have, if you're a listener and you want to check out my newsletter, it's on decisionlab.beehive.com. I actually have an article coming out, I think next week, it's already scheduled, that's on product market fit and how to detect problems in your product market fit. And one of the first things I talk about is that it's a dynamic idea, your product market fit. It's not static, because the market is constantly changing. New incumbents are coming, existing solutions are, becoming worse or better or what have you. And product market fit has to be this dynamic thing. And I also really advocate for the ICP, your ideal customer profile, to also be a dynamic thing. It's not a static thing. Just because, we were talking about this earlier, your cultural tides may shift and a certain industry or a certain type of customer may no longer be as ideal for you. If you want to meet certain goals in terms of close rates and how much business you want to get and maintain consistency and all of that jazz. So, I think first of all, it's dynamic, it's not static. So we need to stop looking at it that way. I think the second thing is you need to look at all the signs, retention rates, your close rates, getting positive feedback and not getting anything, not getting enough advocacy from existing customers. All of those are common signs. The other really common sign is when people ask, and I know everybody's going to say, oh, that's not true, when people ask for a pilot. When you really nail product market fit, people stop asking for pilots. So pilot isn't just because the client is afraid of risk. It's because they don't quite know how they're going to use you. And that's an indication of a misalignment there. So you have to work towards a place where you can sell without a pilot. And that's when you know you're nailing it.
Where do people go to find out more?
You can go to Investment Arc, but Arc is spelled with a K. So investmentark.net. That's my investment company. So if you're a startup and you need some assistance, that's where to find me. And then, of course, my newsletter, Decision Lab. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate to connect with me. And again, Craig will have a link to my LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, and all that'll be there. And I'll throw a link to the newsletter in the chat on LinkedIn. I see a couple of people asking it in an hour or so after the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you all for the great questions. And thank you for the great interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been Startup Talk, Toronto's startup podcast. For more exclusive content, the episode vault, and to be part of TorontoStarts community, visit TorontoStarts.com. Get your name on the newsletter mailing list and check out our upcoming events. For more episodes, subscribe now. And please recognize the time and work behind the scenes put into connecting you with the biggest visionaries, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Toronto by leaving a 5-star review. Join us for more next episode from Toronto's most active entrepreneur and startup community on Startup Talk.